getting the goals they deserve.
Live on lcfc.com, Facebook and Twitter. You're listening to the Pre-Match Pint, brought to you by Chang Beer.
Hello, good afternoon and season's greetings to you, but it's time to tuck away the turkey because football is back at King Power Stadium for a Boxing Day clash between the top two in the Premier League. It's Leicester City against Liverpool, 8 o'clock kickoff, and we have got you covered on LCFC Radio, starting right now with the Pre-Match Pint with me, Lewis Mason, and joining me in the studio, former City defender Gerry Taggart and the Athletics' Rob Tanner. Gentlemen, how are we?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, Lewis. Merry Christmas, Rob. Merry Christmas to all you listeners. And I'm loving that jumper, Rob.
I tell you what, he's come
looking festive, eh?
Very much so. I mean, spectacular.
Good day yesterday, Tags?
Yeah, apart from overcooking everything, yeah. Using a strange oven I wasn't used to. That's my excuse. The vegetables were good. You know, the pudding was good. But unfortunately, the goose and the belly pork was slightly overdone. So it sort of didn't spoil it, but you know, I've got very high standards when it comes to my cooking, and I fell way below them yesterday.
Well, we always go with the hospitality scores for the away games. So what would you have given the Taggart hospitality yesterday?
It's at the most, and just because the veg was superb, I'll give it a 6.
6.
Yeah.
Solid. How about you, Rob? Good day?
Yeah, but I think it was a little bit better than his.
Yeah.
In the dinner. It was a step up from Denise in the Royal Family when she just had carrot crush and a knob of stalk. That was it.
The one thing I did do was I left the pigs and blankets in the oven. And by the time I remembered, there was smoke coming out of the oven. It was like, you know, the signaling of a new pope at the Vatican. So they were just cremated and had to be thrown in the bin. So there you go.
One of the great traditions of Christmas is, of course, Boxing Day football. Bit different this year. Really late kickoff on Boxing Day. But it is the big one, which everyone's looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's the game of the season. It's the top two. Obviously, Liverpool have been away, haven't they? Far-flung travels, winning the World Club Championship. And, you know, obviously Leicester coming off the back of a defeat to Man City. You have to say we're the better team on the day. There was, you know, I don't think anybody would make any bones about that result. But, you know, a great opportunity tonight. You know, this is where it's happening. This is the place to be on Boxing Day, is at King Power Stadium. So everybody's looking forward to it. And I even think, you know, even if, you know, some people had a bit of a hangover today and were waking up thinking, oh, I've got to go there. And then you realise the magnitude of this game, and you can't be anything other than excited about it. Because I know I was this morning.
Yeah, but for Leicester City, they've got to leave the disappointment of the Man City game behind and just crack on now, Rob.
Yeah, they're very good at that as well. When they've had a little setback, they've bounced back straight afterwards. So hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll do that again today. I mean, I don't like to talk about titles and title races and that, but obviously a win against Liverpool would certainly get the tongues wagging again. I mean, it's a big gap to them, isn't it? 10 points. They've lost one game in 18 months. They're now the world champions, club champions. You know, they're a phenomenal side. But I think Leicester really should be looking more at the gap from second to fifth rather than second to the top, because that's the goal, isn't it? Now, after a fantastic first half of the season, if they can go on and secure Champions League football, what a phenomenal campaign that would have been.
Yeah, and that gap is still 10 points after today's fixtures. Tottenham taking that place in fifth now. Just run through the scores from this afternoon so far. It was Spurs 2, Brighton 1 in the early game. The 3 o'clocks are just finishing up, and it was Aston Villa 1, Norwich City 0, that's full time. Bournemouth 1, Arsenal 1, Chelsea 0, Southampton 2 at Stamford Bridge, which is the shock result of the day. Crystal Palace 2, West Ham 1, Everton 1 at Burnley 0, and it's just finishing up at Bramall Lane. They're just going into injury time there. Sheffield United 1, Watford 1. We'll keep you up to date with the scores across the league as they come in on those late games, and also try and get some of the reaction as well. But for Leicester City, obviously Liverpool are in town. Lots of people getting in touch, so thank you for all your messages. We'll get through as many of them as possible. Kerry says, proud to be back at King Power Stadium today. Clive says, come on Leicester, let's get a win today. Andre says, come on Leicester City. And Benjamin's going for a 2-0 win to Leicester today. All the predictions coming in thick and fast as well. And did see someone saying, let's make King Power Stadium loud and proud today, please. That's what Caroline says. Sing your hearts out, lads. Well, if you are coming to King Power Stadium, supporters are asked to be in your seats by 7:45 to experience the full spectacle of a brand new light show at the stadium. There's big screens, pyrotechnics. It's all going on. Just adding to that matchday experience that Leicester City do so well, Gerry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously we've known about this, has been in the pipeline for a couple of months now, this new sort of set of lights that have been brought in. And tonight's the night. And I suppose, again, what a night for everyone to, see a little bit extra, let's call it, of the matchday experience. So, yeah, hopefully it just adds to the atmosphere. And hopefully that will give the players that little bit of added incentive.
Yeah, as if they need it, though.
Oh, exactly.
When Liverpool are in town, do you need it?
If you can't be up for a game like this, then really you shouldn't be in the game, should you? I mean, that the players will need no motivation today. I mean, the light shows for the fans, to get the fans going, and we've seen a little bit of it being tested. It looks pretty impressive, I have to say. So I'm looking forward to that later on. But in terms of the players, they'll come out to a roar from the crowd, but they won't need any motivation today.
What do they need to think about with regards to that Manchester City game and getting themselves back on track? What really went wrong? Was it that Man City were too good, or could Leicester have done things better?
I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I think there'll be things that Brendan Rodgers will look at after the match and say, yeah, maybe, tactically things could have went better, and the first thing that springs to mind was the De Bruyne issue, the De Bruyne stroke Mahrez issue, where they did know how to deal with De Bruyne going up and playing as a second centre forward, and that in turn leaving all that room out on the right hand side for Mahrez, which in the end caused the major issues for Leicester on the evening. So there's lots of things you always look at, but in saying that, as a player and as an individual and as a group of players, then sometimes you have to sort it out yourself on a football pitch. And even if that doesn't happen, then you have to hold your hand up and say, which is, correct, Man City were the better team on the night and they deserve to win the game. And they're a class team. So it's no big disappointment that you get beat away to a team like Man City, who on the day were on form and played some really good stuff.
Credit to Leicester City, though, in that game, because Manchester City implemented that on purpose. They tried something new because they knew Leicester were a threat.
Exactly, and it worked a treat. I mean, it was very noticeable from very early on in the game how they were getting the ball wide right to Mahrez as much as they possibly can. Now, sitting next to my athletic colleague Sam Lee, who covers Man City, he said normally they're quite very strong down the left, but they deliberately went down the right with Mahrez, isolated Chilwell. Obviously, there's 2 young lads down there, Chilwell and Harvey Barnes, not a massive amount of experience, so they saw that as an area they could target. And it worked really, really well. And I thought as well a little bit, Leicester looked a little bit leggy compared to Man City. There was more aggression, there was more drive in Man City's play.
It looked a lot more physical, Man City, I thought. That's one definite aspect of the game, was they were a lot more physical than Leicester, which, is surprising.
Well, I think you mentioned in commentary, didn't you, about Riyad Mahrez, so we haven't really seen that side of him, but he looked kind of combative. Yeah,
he looked as if, he was playing for Leicester in the glory days. And I don't suppose we've only seen that few and far between. From the games that I've seen him play for Man City, I've not seen him at full tilt a lot of times, but on Saturday, he was right on the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Different tests today. Do Leicester need to go back to their aggressive way of playing? I know you said about the leggy situation, but that was probably a very important 5 days since that Man City game to really recover.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you saw in the previous games as well, Norwich and then losing the lead at Everton as well, a little bit of fatigue is starting to set in now. It's been such an intense first half of the season. They've given everything. The way they play is high intensity as well, so it's going to take it out of the players, and he hasn't made many changes to that starting lineup. He's been very consistent with that. So sooner or later, there is going to be a little spell in the season where perhaps your energy level isn't quite as high, and obviously we're going into a period of the season now where the games are coming thick and fast, and I think we'll probably start seeing quite a bit of team rotation in the next few days as well. So, but they've got to just take heart from the way they've been playing this season as well. They've been fantastic.
Can you see the rotation tonight?
Probably not tonight, no.
Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say where Brendan will prioritise these 2 games coming up, and then obviously you've got the games next week as well. But for the moment, it's probably one of the only few stages of a season where you have to balance. You have to do a balancing act because you've got 2 games so quickly back to back, and so you have to take into consideration the game against West Ham as well as the game tonight. Whereas normally, on a week by week basis, you're concentrating on one team. You can't do that because of West Ham 2 days away. So it may come in. You may see changes. You may not. Some managers just go on a whim and a prayer. But knowing Brendan, like I know Brendan, he doesn't work like that. He tries and covers every base to make sure that every eventuality that does come along is covered. So you may well see 1 or 2 changes. You may well not. It all depends on, again, what's happening on the training pitch. How people have responded to that defeat against Man City. How people performed against Man City may come into his mind with his team selection tonight. So there's all these ponderations he has to bring, get into his head. And then once he's spurted it all out, that's what you'll see on the team sheet. But there's a lot of thinking that goes on between the defeat at Man City and the game tonight.
Yeah, Matchday Live follows us at 7, and that's the first time you'll hear tonight's team news, so do stick around for that, of course. Lots of people getting in touch. Jason's going for a 6-1 Leicester win tonight. There we go. He got a nice dose of confidence in his stocking over
somebody
Christmas.
started on the Christmas port a bit early, didn't they, for that one?
Nigel says hopefully get some payback after Anfield earlier in the season. I'm sure we'll talk about that game as we go through the evening. And Bubba says massive game tonight. Quite a few Liverpool fans getting in touch, back in their side as well. If you're on the way to the King Power Stadium, do have a safe trip. And we will see you very, very soon. Right then, it is Christmas. We do like playing games. And this game, we play all year round. The punny old game, gentlemen. We have to find our team of 11 footballers, a pun in their name, and the theme this week is everyone's playing games at the moment. We're talking games. It can be your board games. It can be any type of game you like. What have you been playing over the Christmas period that you can turn into the name of a footballer?
Right.
Get going on that one. In the meantime, our music this week is going to be Liverpool against Leicester. So we're going from artists from the 2 cities. Who wins the first duel? Well, representing Leicester first up, Shawaddy Waddy and Under the Moon of Love.
Let's sit down and talk under the moon of love. I wanna tell you that I love you, and I want you to be my girl, little darling. Let's walk, let's talk under the moon of love. People looking so lovely under the moon of love. Your eyes shining so brightly. Whisper things in your ear. I'm gonna tell you lots of things I know you've been longing to hear. Come on, little darling, take my hand. Let's go for a little walk under the moon of love. Let's sit down and talk under the moon of love. I wanna tell you that I love you, and I want you to be my girl, little darling. Let's walk, let's talk under the moon of love. and whisper things in your ear. I'm gonna tell you lots of things I know you've been longing to hear. Come on, little darling, take my hand. Let's go for a little walk under the moon of love. Let's sit right down and talk under the moon of love. Let's go for a little walk under the moon of love. Let's sit down and talk under the moon of love. Let's go for a little walk under the moon.
There we go, Shawadi Wadi, Under the Moon of Love, representing Leicester in the battle of Leicester against Liverpool on our playlist. Who will represent Liverpool first up? We will find out very shortly. You're listening to the Pre-Match Pint on LCFC Radio, brought to you by Chang Beer. With the punny old game this game, we are talking about games. That is the theme. Have we got anything so far, Rob and Gerry?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll go first because we'll save Rob's, because
Yeah.
his is world class.
It is good.
Mine's isn't bad. So I'm going to go for the Sheffield United forward,
Yeah.
centre forward, Lys Trap.
Lys Moostrap. Very good. Yeah, we'll have him up front. I'm going to have a striking partner. How about Domino's Solanke?
Yeah.
Domino's
Yeah.
Solanke, yeah? And go for that. Rob, anything from you?
I've got Wayne Buckaroony.
Yes, Wayne
Love it.
Buckaroony.
World class.
We'll put him in the 10 hole, I think. Who else have we got getting in touch? We've got Mick saying, how about actually you had one that
Yeah.
could work. Mick's gone for Cluedo Ranieri.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you had one to go with that?
Well, I was going to Cluedo Puel.
Cluedo. Well,
Well-
we'll put Cluedo Ranieri,
Yeah.
and Rob informs us he was a defender, so we'll have him at the back.
So was Puel. He was a right back.
There you go.
A full back.
Cool. Well, we'll keep one Cluedo in there for now. If we need it later, we might have to put in Cluedo Puel. But in the meantime, get in touch with any others you might have. This week's punny old game theme is games. All sorts of them that I'm sure you've been playing over the Christmas holidays. Right, plenty of games have taken place already in the Premier League today. The early kickoff was Spurs. They were in action, of course, and their game finished 2-1 against Brighton. And at the game was Ian Beach. Let's hear from him.
Victory was crucial for Tottenham after losing at home to Chelsea on Sunday. Jose Mourinho reminded his players of the principles he wants them to stick to when they came off 1-0 down at half-time. He picked the right strategy because his team fought back with second-half goals from Harry Kane and Dele Alli to cancel out Adam Webster's first-half header for Brighton. In truth, Tottenham probably shaded things.
Ian Beach at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It wasn't the best performance from Spurs. Rob, I know you were watching this earlier. I listened to it on the way today, and it just sounded like Brighton were the better team for much of the game.
Well, I saw the first half, and they took the lead through from a set piece, which they're strong on. We all know that they're a threat from set pieces. But what really surprised me was the way Spurs were squandering possession so easily. They weren't really being put under that much pressure, but they just kept giving the ball away. But obviously, it sounds like in the second half they've got their act together a little bit, but it didn't look very good for him in the first half.
Yeah, let's hear from Jose Mourinho and what he had to say after the game.
The second half was really, really good, and even if we were not winning this game, I would be disappointed, of course, but I would have the feeling that the boys gave everything, not forgetting that we played against a very good team.
Even though they didn't play their best, we are seeing a different Jose Mourinho to when we last saw him in the Premier
Yeah.
League, because he was just whinged, wouldn't he?
Well, yeah, I listened to that and I thought, wow, he's not up in arms. His emotions are in check. He just sounds cool. He sounds relaxed. Obviously, they've won the game, and at this stage of the season, you do get these odd results that do come in and odd performances, and I think he'll be more happy with that result, than probably the first couple that he came in when they were scoring goals but conceding a lot of goals.
Yep.
At least, I think it was 2 goals in the first 3 or 4 games.
Yeah.
And playing some good football. Whereas today, it sounds like they really had to, grind the result out, not playing that well. And sometimes as a manager, that is more pleasing, just to see your team somehow get over the line. Because it's great to watch your team when they're playing brilliant. it's obviously completely the opposite when they're playing really bad. But it's all about the result at the end of the day. And that's exactly what Jose got, was a positive result out of not what you would call a typical Tottenham performance against a team, let's face it, you would expect them to, run over the top of.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? It's a season where, again, if you're a Leicester fan, you've watched some of the sublime football they've played this season, you think this really is an opportunity for Leicester to do very well in the Premier League, because Tottenham last week, of course, got ran over by Chelsea. They've gone and stuttered through today's game. Then Chelsea are at home losing to Southampton.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And there's my case in point.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah, it's just a strange league this season. That those sides that have dominated the top 6 places for the last few years, some of them are having a little transitional period as well, changing managers, changing the way they're going. They're up and down, they're inconsistent. It's a great opportunity for Leicester.
Yeah, you talk about the management, of course. Mikel Arteta was in charge for the first time of Arsenal. They drew 1-1 away at Bournemouth. Carlo Ancelotti got a win for Everton, 1-0 against Burnley. And another man who we know very well, Nigel Pearson at Watford, having a pretty good time. Got 1-1 draw away at high-flying Sheffield United.
Yeah, it's a decent result. We all know about Sheffield United, how they've betted in this season in their Premier League. Look really comfortable, really good football inside. So that's not a bad result.
On the back of beating Manchester United.
Absolutely. So, you've got to follow your results up, especially when you go away from home. And that's exactly what he's done. And, I was listening to the radio on the way down, and they went in front and then they conceded a penalty. So to keep Sheffield United down to scoring from the penalty spot, especially when they're at home, is no mean feat, because they are pretty slick, especially at home.
Yeah, we've seen what Nigel Pearson can do in this situation. So
he's
do
done
you
it
back
before.
him?
I mean, you think we're going back to Carlisle when he first started and the Jimmy Glass goal, and then he was assistant manager, wasn't he, at West Bromwich Albion when they had the great escape, and then he's come and done it here in 15. And now he's going to do. I fancy them. I fancy them to get out of it now. I know they've left themselves a lot of work to do.
They're a decent team.
That's the thing.
They're
got
still
some
a
good
decent
players.
team, but for whatever reason, they find themselves languishing at the bottom of the league, not being able to win a game. And I think for Nigel, you got to put the pieces together on the pitch, and then let them, because they are a decent team. They finished in the top 10 for the last couple of seasons, and then this season they're struggling. So there's got to be an underlying issue there for me.
He will make it simple for the players, won't he, as well, Nigel? He will simplify everything. They'll be well organised. I think he's gone with Deeney up top now, isn't he? Playing off Deeney. They will play a straightforward style of play, and it's very effective.
Yeah, they're off bottom as well, which will be a pleasing sight for Watford fans and for Nigel Pearson as well. Norwich are bottom of the Premier League. Watford's gap now is 6 points to West Ham, who lost, of course, this afternoon. Talking of Norwich, that was a massive game at Villa Park today. Aston Villa 1, Norwich 0. You feel that's huge already.
Again, big win for them, Villa, you have to say, against... It's like a 6-pointer, isn't it, that game today? So there's a lot of pressure as well at this time of the season when, you have these 6-point games coming up. And sometimes the football that you're expecting to see as a fan isn't necessarily what you get, what gets dished out on the pitch. It's all about the results, because Aston Villa won't have time to even enjoy this that much, because they know they're straight into recovery mode. They'll be in tomorrow morning, recovery. They probably won't even get to work on a lot of tactical stuff, if any, tomorrow. And then obviously they're off and running again. So it's just about getting over the line at this time of the season. It's about getting the results in the bag and moving on, because everybody's in the same boat. So if you're hurting, then the other team are hurting just as bad, believe you me.
Yeah, because we've seen Villa and Norwich over the last couple of weeks, and Norwich were a far better and more solid outfit than Aston Villa were. And then you see that result today and you think, how's that happened?
I thought Norwich showed a lot of fight when they came here, a lot of spirit, which you're going to need if you're going to get yourself out of trouble. And I didn't really see that when we went to Villa Park. But obviously they've pulled it out of the bag today. It was a massive game for them, a massive psychological blow for Norwich as well. Huge boost for Villa.
Does that show just how good Liverpool are in terms of the consistency and being able to churn out performances in this league? Because wherever you are in the Premier League table, you're in the top 20 teams in English football. You're still in that top
absolutely
area. But Liverpool aren't struggling against people.
No, well, they were getting over the line earlier on in the season where there were last-minute decisions going their way, and one of the goals was a VAR goal away at Villa. Ironically enough, that went their way, I think. And obviously they got a VAR penalty against Leicester. But every team has a bit of a blip, I suppose. And I suppose you could look at Leicester's last couple of results and say that they're going through a bit of a blip at the moment, which is coming at completely the wrong time of the season, by the way. But Liverpool, since the Leicester result, have sort of picked up, started scoring goals freely again, picking up the points wherever they go. And then they've been on this, they've been away to Qatar for this World Club Cup final. And so it'll be interesting to see how that's affected them, tonight, with all the travelling and stuff like that. But that's why I think the game's probably a little bit more even than the bookies or the table would suggest tonight.
Plenty more to come, of course, ahead of Leicester against Liverpool. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff, and we've got you covered all the way on LCFC Radio. Lots of people getting in touch. Joe says, love you, Foxes. Go for the win and fight till the end. Never give up. Colin says, we're fearless of world, European or Premier League champions. Why? Because we're champions in our own right. That's what Colin's been in touch with. Pete says, come on, you Foxes. And also Ying sharing the same sentiment. Thank you so much, everyone, for getting in touch. We'll get through as many of your messages as we can, but you also have a job to do because we're still playing the punny old game, and we need a lineup of players who, with puns in their names, you can make into a game of some sort. Maybe a board game that you've played over Christmas. Maybe a Scrabble. Can we find anything on Scrabble?
Scrabble.
Can we get a bit of Scrabble in there? Monopoly?
Well, I've got one.
Oh, he's got one off the cuff.
Yeah.
Go on.
We played charades.
Yes.
Stephen Sherrard. Hey,
Rob Tanner.
There's a reason he's here. Right, let's go back to the playlist. We had Leicester against Liverpool on our playlist. We had Shawadi representing Leicester. On the Liverpool side of things, the Zootons and Valerie.
Well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water. You do, and in my head I make a picture. 'Cause since I've come on home, well my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, did you have to go to jail? Put your house on up for sale? Did you get a good lawyer? I hope you didn't catch a tan. I hope you find the right man who'll fix it for you. Are you shopping anywhere? Change the color of your hair. Are you busy? And did you have to pay the fine? You were dodging all the time. Are you still busy? Yeah. 'Cause since I've come on home, well my body's been a mess, and I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie, Valerie, well, sometimes I go out by myself and I look across the water. change what you do. And in my head I make a picture. Since I've come on home, well, my body's been a mess. And I miss your ginger hair and the way you like to dress. Won't you come on over and stop making a fool out of me? Why don't you come on over, Valerie? Valerie. 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 Yeah, Valerie.
Valerie from the Zootons on the Pre-Match Pint on LCFC Radio, representing Liverpool, and we had Shawadi Wadi Under the Moon of Love for Leicester. Where are you going with that one? Zootons versus Shawadi Wadi.
Well, I went out to meet Dave Bartram to do a feature not that long ago. Fascinating bloke.
Yeah.
Some of the stories he had I couldn't put in, but they were interesting to hear. He started playing a bit of piano
I
for us.
played with Steph Oakes, whose dad was Trevor Oakes, who was in.
Yeah.
So you've got her on that side, ain't you, Shwada?
There we go. They take the lead. Who will our next battle be between? Find out a little bit later. In the meantime, let's get your latest news headlines.
You're listening to LCFC Radio.
A child's among 49 suspected migrants who've been rescued after a major operation in the English Channel. 4 boats were intercepted in the early hours. Tory MP for Dover, Natalie Elphig, says more needs to be done to stop illegal crossings.
This year alone, we've had over 1,700 people arrive. And the key to stopping this must be to stop more of these small boats leaving from French shores. And if boats are found in the English Channel, they should be taken back.
Spanish police have revealed more details about 3 people who drowned in a swimming pool at a holiday resort on the Costa del Sol. Gabriel Dia, who was 52, died along with his children, 16-year-old Praise Emmanuel and Comfort, who was 9. At least 2 people have been injured after avalanches hit ski resorts in Austria and Switzerland. It's feared a number of others have been buried in the snow. The number of shoppers out for the Boxing Day sales has seen its biggest decline in 9 years. Poor weather's been largely blamed for the drop in footfall. Data firm Springboard says there were 10% fewer shoppers this year compared to last. That's the latest. I'm Anna Bates.
On LCFC.com, Facebook and Twitter, you're listening to the Pre-Match Pint, brought to you by Chang Beer.
Yes, it's the battle of the top 2 in the Premier League. It's Leicester City against Liverpool. 8 o'clock kickoff. Matchday Live follows us from 7, where we will have all the team news for you for the first time. We are playing the punny old game with our theme being games that you might well have played over the Christmas holidays. Gerry Taggart thinks he has got one, and it's a good one. Go for it.
Well, I've got a fullback.
Yes.
A left fullback.
We need it.
Wayne Bridge. Card game.
Lovely. Yes. We'll take a bit
How
of Wayne
simple is
Bridge.
that?
It's very simple. Hey,
It was like an epiphany.
well done. That was good. It's quite straightforward. I like your thinking though.
Yeah.
Whereas Mick has come in and blown it out of the water with our central midfielder of Harry Tiddlywinks. That is class. Very good. Bubba said Kevin Poole, and we were thinking, what's that? Oh, but actually a
Pool.
game of pool.
Yeah.
But I think we've got a better goalkeeper, Gerry Taggart.
Have we?
Oh, yeah, you goalkeeper.
Ludo.
Oh, Ludo. The old West Ham.
Ludo McCloskey.
Ludo McCloskey. He was, yeah. We'll go for that.
I
Ludo.
like that. Anything from you, Rob?
I've got Quixote, so it's Checkers.
Checkers Quixote. Nice.
Yeah, I like
Yeah,
that.
I like that. Very good.
What
Keep them
about
coming.
Bubba? Bubba's not. I've not heard from Bubba.
Bubba was Kevin Poole.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
But that's poor for Bubba.
It's
Bubba
not.
is
It's not
normally
his usual standard.
pulls him out of the top drawer, left, right, and centre.
Bit of a Boxing Day
Come on,
hangover for Bubba, I think. Keep them coming, and we'll play for a little bit longer on the Pre-Match Pint. In the meantime, Christmas as a footballer, Gerry Taggart.
Poor.
It's a tough time, I guess.
It's a tough time, man. Worst time of the year.
Really?
Oh, yes. When everyone about you is celebrating and having a lovely time, there's you sat in the corner watching the box with a lemonade, orange and lemonade in your hand. Yeah, not great.
That's what you've heard from a lot of the managers over the last couple of days, talking about what's happening at Christmas. And they said, well, we'll come in Christmas morning, then we'll get on a coach and we'll go and stay in a hotel. And that's our Christmas day together.
I once, when I was playing for Barnsley, and it probably wouldn't happen, but it was back in the early 90s, 5 o'clock meet, travel to Plymouth, soup and sandwiches when you get there at 10:15, off the bed, and then get up and play Boxing Day. Absolute disaster. But there you go. They're the downsides to being a footballer, which, let's face it, aren't many, especially in today's game. But yeah, that was probably the worst ever journey I've made in my life. Was a 5.5 hour trip from Barnsley to Plymouth on Christmas Day.
Just knowing that chicken and mushroom soup was waiting for you the other end.
Mate. Yeah, and some horrible sandwiches, you know. But there you go. That's football. That's the life of a footballer.
I guess now, modern day, when we're thinking about the fact that Leicester play tonight, then they're in West Ham. What did you say? You did the maths.
It's less than 48 hours.
Less than 48 hours.
Yeah.
The way that everything is so meticulously planned these days, they'll have it exactly to the minute that they need to be out of the stadium tonight to make sure they got the right rest, a bit of time at home, to then meet again and travel to London. It's just relentless.
Well,
isn't it?
the recovery and the processes that they'll go through begin as soon as they walk back into that dressing room. They'll have their drinks, their special drinks with all the minerals in to replace the lost salts and everything. You see them walking around in the mix zone, drinking them. I always wonder what on earth it is, like little pink drink and that will help. In terms of the recovery, they'll probably be in the cryo chamber tomorrow, getting ready. It's all about the recovery now. Yeah, tonight. Well,
ice baths,
yeah.
cryo chamber tonight. See them again tomorrow. There'll be food waiting for them as soon as the game's over, as well as.
And it won't be sandwiches, will it? And soup.
No. This will be like a real pressurized time for the fitness coaches, stroke physios, doctors. It'll be all hands to the pump after the game tonight.
All the masseurs.
Yeah, everybody. It'll be like 100% full tilt after the game's finished.
Yeah, you mentioned the cryo chambers. On the Leicester City website right now, you can read an article about Jamie Vardy and his use of it. Obviously, everyone's saying how he's performing so incredibly well and keeping going and just playing and playing and playing. I think he turns 32, is it, at the start of January. And he said, well, I've got a cryo chamber at home, keeping me going to get the muscles obviously recovered and repaired, and that really is taking the professional element of your game to the next level to take it home with you.
Yeah, not only that, just when they're lying about as well at home, they wear these tight pants, don't they? Like ski pants, whatever you want to call them, that sort of compresses your muscles and squeezes all the acid out of your legs, and that's the cryo chamber's just a speeded up version of doing that. It's a speeded up version of the old ice baths, even though they do still have ice baths. Now also have, obviously, you know, the top of the tree in the cryo chamber, and when they're just lounging around, they wear these tight pants to try and get every last bit of lactic acid, you know, out of their muscles. So, you know, it's vitally important. It sort of came in. So I finished in 2006. By 2004, around that time, probably a bit before that, it started to come in, where you would have the ice baths and people started wearing these pants. But now, like, it's a part of everyday life for these guys.
Oh, absolutely. The sports science now is incredible. What they know about recovery, and I mean, these players are in fantastic shape. The best they've ever been, footballers, and that's why we're getting served up so much entertainment these days as well, because the guys can go and go and go for 90 minutes.
That's why you see people like Jamie Vardy playing game after game after game after game. You know, it's quite incredible how. It's not really about the fitness levels. It's about being able to churn them back out onto the pitch game after game after game after game. And so, as Rob said, there's tens of millions of pounds invested in the sports science bit, in the sports science side of football. And that's why you're seeing people like Jamie Vardy being able to run out so often for Leicester.
What are your thoughts on this winter break then in February? There's going to be a bit of time off. It's being dubbed a winter break. Brendan Rodgers spoke about it last week and said, is it really a winter break? I guess he's used to being in Scotland where they get 3 whole weeks off, is it? whereas this is 14 days, but might not be if you have an FA Cup replay in there, and then Leicester come back and play straight away on the Friday night. Is it just a bit of a box tick?
Well, I think it's just a move towards perhaps an eventual. But they're going to look at the schedule altogether. I mean, the World Club Championship falling as it did for Liverpool, and they had to field the under-23s in a quarter-final of the League Cup. I mean, there's something sorely wrong with the scheduling of those sort of competitions, and I think that we just need to look at it. I mean, so much football now. I mean, every night of the week there's pretty much a game, and I'm not complaining, by the way, because I love it. But we've got to remember that these guys aren't robots. They are. We just talked about the sports science and the ability to keep them going, but they're not machines. Sooner or later they will break down if we keep putting the stress loads through them. I mean, 2 games, in my opinion, 2 games in 48 days. I know going back in the day they used to play Christmas Day and Boxing Day back to back. But we're demanding such high standards these days. The game is faster, more physical, more intense. You can start picking up injuries if you start overloading the players too much.
And the fans want to see the best players on the pitch as well. So there's all these things that come into play. What if Mo Salah doesn't play tonight because he's got a knock? Apparently, Oxlade-Chamberlain's he pulled his ligaments and he's out tonight, and he's been flying for Liverpool. So there's all that to take into consideration. Fans want to see the best players on the pitch. And so I agree entirely with what Rob's saying. You have to schedule in these games. It's in the modern era. If you want to see the best product all the time on the pitch, then you have to get the scheduling right. And I think that's where the authorities at times let themselves down.
We have months where we've got 3 games in a month. And then you get to this time, and you get 3 games in a week. They should be able to even it out a little bit more. And I know it's traditional to have games at this time of year, and we're here on a Boxing night watching a game at 8 o'clock, which is the first I've ever known a game be this late on a Boxing Day. But I think you really got to sort of even it out a bit more. Less is more in terms of the performances.
As well as the physical demand, in terms of mentally as well, just like anyone in any job, you have days where you get run down to such a level, you're tired, you're grouchy, you're not really up for your job. It's the same being a footballer.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you've got that physical demand on top.
Well, that's the bit that, people can't teach, or they don't teach, or they can't coach in football, is the mental side of the game. I know that, some clubs do have, psychologists come in and stuff like that there. But in the day, tonight, let's say, for instance, it's a poor result or a poor performance tonight, and the guys are aching, physically aching, then mentally that starts to take a toll on you, because you've got to get up tomorrow, you've got to come in, you've got to travel to West Ham, stay in a hotel, and then get ready to go again. And sometimes that's the side that the fans or whatever, they don't see, sometimes don't understand it. That's when it does really take a toll on some players. Mentally, it's very, very draining. It's draining enough getting yourself prepared for a game once a week. But as you say, we've got 3 or 4 games in the space of 1 week, or 8 or 9 days, whatever it is. And it's very, very hard to keep just trying to reach those levels, because at the end of the day, when a footballer walks out on their pitch, he wants to feel that before that whistle blows, he knows that he can give 100%, or he's flying at full tilt. And if he's not doing that, then that affects certain players in different ways, mentally. If he's carrying a little knock, or he doesn't feel energetic, then mentally that can affect certain individuals. So again, it all boils down to, for me personally, in the modern era, a bit of scheduling. By the way, I'm not saying you should get rid of the Boxing Day fixture, even though it was the worst time of the year.
Tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's what comes after that, I think they need to look into, really.
We will see. It's a really interesting subject and really interesting points as well. From Gerry Taggart and Rob Tanner, who are with us on the Pre-Match Pint. And still to come, we'll catch up with Matt Elliott and Dan Bates from the Matchday live team. And also we'll look back at some of Liverpool's performances recently, including becoming world champions. More on that very soon. But back to our battle of Leicester against Liverpool on the music front, bringing it more modern day with our next 2 artists. So this is Mahalia, representing Leicester with Simmer.
Sometimes you love too hard, sometimes you go too far. No, I won't want you if you need me. Real things do not come easy, no. Never been your average girl. So take time with me, take time. Baby, talk to me with some action. We could find a place for your passion, no. Cool down, someone, cool now, please me. Cool now, sinner, cool down, love. Cool now, someone, cool now, please me. Cool now, sinner, cool down, love. Cool now, someone, cool now, please me. Cool now, sinner, cool down, love. Sometimes I want you close. Sometimes I want my space. Just know I'm gonna call if I need you. It's not my job to please you, no. Never been your average girl. So take time with me, take time. Baby, talk to me with some action. Think I got a place for your passion, no. Cool down, someone, cool now, please me. Cool now, sinner, cool down, love. Cool now, someone, cool now, please me. Cool now, someone. Boy, you make it too hard for me to stay here. Boy, you're making it hard for me to be your love. So cool down, someone.
Baby, make me tell you this. I won't waste no time, I'll be proceeding quick. The way you're moving lately got me feeling sick. Like say you forgot to know you're dealing with. Man, I real quick when I'm at work non-stop. You not cook no dinner when I come back. Something wrong with ya, come out from that. If no walk and leave ya, me not come back.
You're falling, but you don't wanna fall too hard. You're falling, but you don't wanna fall apart. 'Cause it might break if I give you my heart and you hold on too hard. So cool down, someone, someone. Cool down, someone. Cool now, please me. Cool now, sinner. Cool down, love. Cool now, someone. Cool now, please me. Cool now, someone, someone. Boy, you make it too hard for me to stay here. Boy, you're making it hard for me to be your love.
There we go. Simmer from Mahalia, representing Leicester. We'll get a more recent Liverpool artist on the way very soon, of course, in the Battle of the Oldies. Well, kind of oldies. We had the Zootons versus Shawaddy Waddy to start us. Mahalia getting us back underway with our playlist. More on that to come very soon. But first, let's go and chat to our Matchday Live team of Matt Elliott and Dan Bates. How are we, gents?
Very well, thank you.
Not bad, Lewis.
Greetings.
Not bad, mate.
Oh, yes. Happy Christmas. How was it? All good?
Go on, Dan, you go first.
Yeah, very nice, thank you. Very nice.
Is that it? You finished already?
Was it that good?
I can top
Sounds
that.
like a buzzing party in the Bates household.
Yeah, he does look a bit glum, doesn't he? I don't know what's the matter with him. He's like sat on his haunches there and complaining about Harry Maguire's defending for Man United against Newcastle. Newcastle just taking the lead. And anyway, back to me. Christmas was fine, thank you very much. It was some long days and even longer nights, unfortunately.
Oh, there's a surprise. Let's talk about football then. Liverpool in town. It's the one that everyone's talking about. How are you looking forward to it?
Oh, it's a massive occasion, isn't it? People have been waiting for it to come round, and eventually it's upon us. It would have been even more intense tonight if Leicester were able to get the win or a positive result against Man City. And I think not taking the wind out of Leicester's sails a bit, but it's sort of it's knocked them a touch maybe, but the expectancy is still there for Leicester to go and perform tonight. It's a huge game for a number of reasons. I mean, I think it's fair enough to say if Liverpool were to win it tonight, then the chances of Leicester catching them over the remainder of the season would be minimal to none in reality. But so, it's big from their point of view. They can approach it. They're flying, aren't they? Full of confidence. They can't stop winning games and trophies at the moment. But Leicester will be, I think they'll be slightly disappointed how things went at the Etihad, and they'll be looking to improve on that performance and take the game to Liverpool, perhaps be a bit more positive from the off than they were a few days ago.
Yeah, last beaten nearly a year ago, Liverpool. How good are they, Dan?
Very good. Very good.
You would say that, though,
Yeah,
wouldn't you?
I would say
it
that.
says on Liverpool support. Oh, hang on, it's the
set me
first
up
smile of the day he's got. We're talking about Liverpool, hang on.
No, obviously they're very good. Technically, they're the best team in the world currently after winning the Club World Cup. But I think Leicester, it's probably the best possible time to play Liverpool, isn't it? Just after this long trip that they've made. I know Leicester played at exactly the same time as Liverpool on Saturday, but Leicester only travelled to Manchester. Liverpool were in Qatar, so hopefully from a Leicester point of view that will play a part this evening, particularly in the second half.
You're going to be with us from 7 on Matchday Live. What's on the programme?
Yeah, plenty coming up. We'll hear from Jamie Vardy, Brendan Rodgers, Jan Molby, Jurgen Klopp and Matt, of course, will be here alongside me for all the build-up and full match commentary.
Dan Bates and Matt Elliott, part of our Matchday Live team tonight, and they will be on the show, as I say, from 7 o'clock, and that is the first time we'll hear our team news. Just hearing from Mikel Arteta after his first game in charge of Arsenal. Here's what he had to say after his team came from behind to get a point at Bournemouth.
In terms of attitude, character, the passion we showed, and the fight and the spirit that the team showed, spot on. Probably better than I expected over 90 minutes.
Tough job for Mikel Arteta at Arsenal, but he seemed to go in, make some bold choices, put Mesut Ozil on to start, chucked up Lacazette and Aubameyang up front together. He's got to go in there and be bold, hasn't he?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they've got good players. But interesting that he said there about spirit and personality, because I always think that's one thing that Arsenal lack, is that bit of fight, a bit of grit about them, that steely backbone that Liverpool's. I mean, you look at Liverpool at the moment, they're probably not playing as well as they did last season for me in a lot of performances, but they find a way to win. They've got that winning attitude about them, and you look at the World Club Championship, the way they ground out those victories in the semi-final and then the final. Arsenal always look a little bit vulnerable for me. They've always looked a bit weak. Mentally, more than anything, and so if he can go in and change that mentality in there, then we know they've got talented footballers. I mean, Lacazette and Aubameyang, they're fantastic players. So if he can get that changed, I mean, that's not easy, but if he can change that, then he's got a great side.
Yeah, and the Mesut Ozil conundrum tags is just one that lots of managers probably tried to get under wraps, but it's a hard one.
Well, in the words of Jose Mourinho, he's the special one as far as Arsenal are concerned. In my opinion, obviously. He's the one that needs to be treated with kid gloves. He's the one that the team need to be built around him to a certain degree. And I suppose if you do that as a manager, then you may well see a different Mesut Ozil. But again, I'll go back to what Arteta was saying in his post-match. The things he was coming out with, for people like me, were a prerequisite when you went out to play football. But that is obviously one of the underlying problems with Arsenal Football Club, is that desire,
caring enough,
and wanting it enough, it hurting enough. Why does that happen? More so in the modern game, let's say. And so again, underlying problems from within Arsenal Football Club that Arteta has to sort out, and that, as Rob rightly says, takes time, and it's not going to be easy. You've got a lot of different personalities who think that they should be playing their style of football, maybe not the manager's style of football. And I'll go back to the ex-manager. Maybe that was his issues. That's probably why he couldn't get them up for the big games, or why you've seen them slipping down the table. As Rob said, very talented footballers while they're not performing.
Talking about caring enough, though, going back to tonight's opposition and Liverpool, they certainly do fight till the end, don't they? We've talked about all those games where they have just nicked things late on, and that's what Leicester have been very happy to do as well, is battle to the end. So tonight really could be a real big duel.
You could go through the whole Liverpool team and look at the qualities they've got. I mean, the front three, everybody looks at those, Salah, Firmino, Mane. But if you look at that midfield as well, Wijnaldum, Milner, they're prepared to do that hard graft.
In whatever
Arsenal
position
haven't got any
as well.
of those sort of
they
characters.
don't care what position they're
No,
playing
exactly. They'll go in and and you won't really notice them unless you're a football purist and you see the work that they go through, because they don't stand out in terms, because they keep the game so simple. But they let the front three, then they give them the platform to go and flourish. And the two fullbacks, fantastic. I mean, there's a lot of people say that if you can stop the fullbacks going forward, you can stop Liverpool. I think there's a bit more about them than that. But that's an area that Leicester have got to be aware of tonight, those two fullbacks bombing forward.
And while we're just talking about Liverpool, I'm thinking about Arsenal. What Liverpool have is what Arsenal haven't got. So they're the complete opposites. Arsenal have got a team full of gifted footballers. Liverpool, I've got a mate who's a season ticket at Liverpool, and he's always moaning about the lack of goals from midfield. And I keep saying to him, but look at the work rate. Yeah. Look at the yards. Look how quick they go and close down. Look at the recovery runs. That's the engine room. Your midfield is the engine room of any football team.
Henderson sums them up in many ways.
Exactly.
Doesn't he?
And he might not score you double digits in terms of goals, but he'll do a lot more during the 90 minutes that'll either save your team or get your team going in the right direction. And that's the difference between a Liverpool and an Arsenal. That's the reason. I'm not saying it's the only reason. Obviously, they've got some quality in the team, well, bags of quality. But that is the one standout reason why they've only lost one game in 18 months. Is because they're prepared to go the extra mile for each other. And that's all down to the manager. And the manager bringing in the right players.
Yeah, the right characters. He's brought in the right characters.
Well, talking about the manager, Jurgen Klopp, of course, brings us back to the punny old game. And Russell has gone for Jurgen Monclopoly.
I wondered if somebody was going to come up with a Monopoly one.
Yeah. We needed one from somewhere, and Mick has had a bit of a go at Tags and Elliot here.
What?
Hungry hippos.
Does he know us personally, or what? Well, definitely as far as Elliot's concerned.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen him demolish a few buffets around the country.
Right, this is our final opportunity. So during this song, I need you to think of your final punny old game suggestions. We could do with some defenders. It's all about games, board games, the like. Get in touch on Facebook and Twitter if you've got any. And Gerry and Rob, back to your notepads while we play a bit of Circa Waves to represent Liverpool on our playlist.
Digging holes in the fields, it's telling me
There we go, a bit of Circa Waves representing Liverpool on our playlist of Leicester versus Liverpool with Fossils. On the way, we're going to have a history lesson with Hutch, but we need to finish off our punny old game where the theme this week has been games. Have we got anything for this? Craig has come in with Peter Chest. Thanks, Craig. Don't really know what...
Peter Check. Peter Chess.
But he says Peter Chest. No.
Sorry.
Sorry. Phil Jenga. Is that meant to be? Who's that meant to be?
Yeah, Phil Jagielka.
Jagenga.
Yeah.
Jenga. I think you've got a couple of better ones, boys, because we do need some defensive options.
Got a wide player here.
Yeah.
We'll stick him in full-back.
Yeah, stick it. We can play him. I don't know whether he could ever play. Danny and Guess Who.
Danny and Guess Who. Yeah, we'll whack him in at full-back, yeah. Anything from you, Tags?
Well, I had an old player I used to play with. A lot of people met. He was a centre forward, but on the odd occasion he filled in at centre half. Making that up. And he was called Sammy Bangor, so we'll call him Sammy Bingo. Yeah, okay.
Not sure if that one makes it. Let's go through our team. In goal, we've got Ludo McCloskey. In our defence, we've got Danny and Guess Who, Cluedo Ranieri, Jurgen Monclopoli and Wayne Bridge. Then we've got a midfield three of Stephen Sherrard, Harry Tiddlywinks, Ryan Scrabble, and then in the number 10 role, we've got Wayne Buckaroony behind Lise Musatrap and Dominoes Solanke.
Yeah.
We thank you for your time,
hard work,
and your patience. And we will play again in just a couple of days' time. I can't barely wait. Before we have a history lesson with Hutch, let's hear from Carlo Ancelotti after he got a win as Everton boss today.
So the performance was good. It was a difficult game against a strong team. So the atmosphere at the stadium was really good, and I think that for everyone was important to win, for us, for the supporters. And so it was a really good day.
Yeah, Calvert-Lewin with the goal for Everton. Everton 1, Burnley 0. Big name arriving at Everton. A lot of people saying, well, why has he gone there?
Yeah.
But he obviously sees something at the club, doesn't he, where he thinks there's potential here.
Well, obviously, I think the prospect of moving into this new stadium, I think the final planning permission went in just the other day.
I saw the plans that they released on social media, and it looked pretty impressive. It's down by the riverside.
You've got the fact that the owner's a multi-billionaire and got piles of cash as well, and people may be going, okay, the team's not great at the moment. The investment they've made in the players hasn't really shown its true potential. If they ever are, who knows? But I think it's a chance for Ancelotti to come back and maybe he done well here, didn't he? When he was managing Chelsea, he had a really good time there. I think this chairman or this owner of Everton is the type of manager that does give managers a chance. Whereas obviously when he was at Chelsea, he did marvellous things there and got the sack. And so I think he just likes the English game. And I think listening to the game or listening to the updates on the game on the way down, straight away he switched things around. He brought little Bernard, who's been playing out in the left, stuck him in the number 10 role and got him on the ball. Apparently was getting him on the ball a lot more and getting him turned, running at the fences. So you can just say that he just brings a different kind of style of football to the English game.
Yeah, that was one of the 3 o'clock kickoffs. The later kickoff was Manchester United against Newcastle at Old Trafford. It is 1-1. Longstaff gave Newcastle the lead. Martial equalised for United. Right, it's time for a history lesson with Hutch.
Happy Christmas, Hutch.
Happy Christmas, Dan.
Boxing Day games always famous, aren't they?
Brilliant, yeah, superb. An important part of Christmas.
They're one of your favourite fixtures, I think, of the season, aren't they?
They certainly are, yeah, brilliant.
Yep, Liverpool at home it is then. We've picked out 3 games with the Reds at home, of course. So we go back to 1972 for the first one.
It's a long way to go back, Dan, but it was a game with a fantastic hat-trick from Keith Weller. Leicester were playing in their new all-white strip, which only lasted a season. Liverpool quickly took a 2-goal lead, with John Toshak scoring in the 9th and the 17th minute. But then they were in trouble. In the 25th minute, Weller cracked home a goal, the first goal. 6 minutes later, he equalised with a superb volley from just outside the box. And 5 minutes after half-time, Filbert Street went mad after Weller completed his hat-trick. This was the first Leicester City hat-trick since Alan Clark had scored a treble against Manchester City in 1968.
And it was another magnificent win, the second game that we go to. This took place in 1980.
Goes Peake, setting himself for the drive. Oh, what a goal! That is beautiful! Andy Peake, his first ever First Division goal. He'll never score a better one.
Yeah, this was one of the biggest upsets in the old First Division that season. It also witnessed one of the best goals ever scored by a Leicester City player in the club's long history. They beat league champions Liverpool 2-0. They became European champions later that season too. Leicester City, by contrast, were First Division novices. The previous season they'd won the Second Division title. They had a very young side, average age 21. It was the third game of the season. They'd lost their first two fixtures. They hadn't managed to score a goal. Then, 2 minutes before half-time, a free kick found Andy Peake, who was a youngster, near the centre of the pitch. He took the pass in his stride, ran towards the Filbert Street end, feinted past Terry McDermott, set himself up for a right-footed, swerving shot from 30 yards out, which screamed into the net. Unforgettable. In the second half, 11 minutes before the end of the game, substitute Martin Henderson smoothly sidestepped his marker and scored a second goal. And it sealed a remarkable and memorable victory.
So from one 2-0 home victory with Liverpool to another 2-0 home victory with Liverpool, and a game that is remembered for one goal and one goal only.
Vardy is chasing it, thinks about the shot first time. Oh, what a goal! That is absolute top class from Jamie Vardy.
We couldn't not do this one. Leicester 2, Liverpool 0, February the 2nd, 2016. Jamie Vardy scored twice as Leicester beat Liverpool to stay 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League. The England striker opened the scoring with a brilliant 25-yard strike over goalkeeper Mignolet from Riyad Mahrez's long ball forward. He let Mahrez's long ball bounce before smashing it over the Liverpool goalkeeper. After the game, he'd revealed that he'd seen the keeper stray off his line on previous occasions and decided to try his luck. He went on to score again. He sealed the victory when he turned home Shinji Okazaki's deflected shot from close range. Leicester fully deserved their victory, and they made the most of the game's big chances.
The Pre-Match Pint, brought to you by Tang Beer.
A bit of a history lesson with Hutch going down the years of some of the famous games against Liverpool. We'll look back at those very shortly, but there has been a goal at Old Trafford, Manchester United 2, Newcastle 1, cracking strike from Mason Greenwood, but I don't think you're going to be too happy with the Newcastle defending, Gerry.
All this modern playing out from the back just shows you a good old boot into the stand sometimes is worth its weight in gold. You won't want to watch that one again, that's for sure.
Yeah, and defenders try and precise pinpoint passes. It doesn't always work, Rob.
No, anyway, it certainly didn't in that one, because I don't know who he is actually trying to pass to. Who was it? I didn't see. But it was a woeful pass, but a great finish from Greenwood.
2-1 United at Old Trafford. Let's go back to those Liverpool games then, and I expect the one that really shone out there was that Jamie Vardy game against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, that volley. I mean, where we are on the press bench, I've sat right behind Vardy, so when the ball came over and it bounced, you could hear almost everybody on the press bench shout, hit it. And he certainly did, didn't he? It was a quality finish, one of the best goals I've ever seen live.
I was going to say, is that one up there for you for a goal at King Power Stadium, Tags?
Yeah, without a doubt. You have to say that. I think, going back to what Rob said, everybody was in the prayer. I think everybody knew what was going to happen, because Jamie Vardy that season was just unstoppable. He just had this air about him, which he's got back, you have to say, this season. But that season in particular, you know, you talk about the records he broke anyway that season, but that goal just epitomised his season as a whole. And as soon as you say the ball came over the top, I think everybody in the stadium knew what he was going to do. And he duly obliged everybody. Yeah. But what a spectacular finish.
How important is he tonight?
He's absolutely vital. He's got a fantastic record against Liverpool. He scored 7 in 10 games against them. Only Arsenal has he scored more goals against, and that's 9 in 10 against Arsenal. So he's got a fantastic record against the big six. So he's absolutely key to everything that Leicester are planning to do tonight. And I think Liverpool will have a special plan for him as well. I can't see them holding a high line tonight. I don't think they'll fancy that. But I think that. But yeah, he's going to be absolutely crucial.
Van Dijk voted the second best player in the world. How does he think about facing Jamie Vardy?
Well, the thing is, it's not just Van Dijk, it's either Lovren or Gomez or whoever plays alongside him. But obviously, if I was Jurgen Klopp, as Rob rightly says, he's the one player that you pinpoint. The other player probably being Maddison and so on down from there, Tielemans, whatever, as far as an attacking sense for Leicester's concerned. But he's the one player where you take your two centre-halves out of the way, you sit them down, you have a chat with them, and you stress how important it is to make sure that when you're defending against them, you're not watching what's going on up the pitch. That's the problem with a lot of defenders these days. They watch what's going on up the pitch, and they don't watch what Jamie Vardy's doing. It was exactly what happened against Manchester City. He just slips away down the side, the ball's in the channel, Jamie's away, and you're not catching them. Otamendi and you aren't catching them. And it's exactly the same tonight. Yes, they've got more pace in the back line with Van Dijk and Gomez, whoever, or Lovren, whoever. But at the end of the day, you know, once he's clear, he's got clear pitch and he's running there, then he's almost unstoppable. So that's, for me, is the vital point of this evening. As far as the Liverpool, I don't even know why I'm speaking about Liverpool, to be honest, but if I'm the manager, I'm making sure my two centre-halves are not watching what's going up further up the pitch. They're watching what Jamie Vardy's doing. And at least one of you have to clone him, have to follow him round, and you have to communicate.
What's been so impressive with Vardy this year is he scored all these goals, but for quite long periods of games, he's very quiet. And you always think, Vardy hasn't touched it much. Was the case in the opening stages at the Etihad the other day. And then to have the composure with your first chance to do what he did, you've got a special player.
He's been absolutely clinical this season when you look at his stats and the chances that he's had. He's taken such a high rate. I mean, I think his conversion rate was something like 35% of the opportunities he's getting, he's putting away, and that's a fantastic statistic. I mean, he's playing the width of the penalty box now. He's not running into corners. He's not wasting his energy as well. He's not doing that press which we used to see, where he goes from the right back all the way across to the left back. He's allowing other people to go and do a bit of the pressing as well, and they're pressing as a unit. And that means he's got that bit of energy. He's got that little spring in his step for when he is found in a bit of a potential dangerous area. And it's really benefiting the team at the moment. I mean, I know he's getting on a bit now in years, but he's not showing any signs of slowing down.
That's a European tactic that Brendan's brought in, as far as Jamie's concerned, where in Europe, on the continent, a lot of the time, they tell the centre forwards not to press. Save your energy for when you're trying to get in behind and running a goal. Obviously, that's hard when you've got a player like Jamie Vardy who wants to run around and cause a bit of upset in the opposition's back line, but that's basically a continental thing that Brendan's brought in, where they just save themselves for attacking and let everyone else around you do the dirty work.
He's not even involved in that much in the build-up play. He can get involved. He can hold the ball up and bring other people in, but he doesn't tend to do that much now. They build through midfield, and then he just springs into life in the final third.
Just obviously one of the battles on the pitch today, and we'll talk about a battle at the other end very soon, because Rob's been writing all about Leicester City's number one, so more on that to come very soon. Also, in the Christmas spirit, of course, we're going to be playing a party game next, gents, after we return to our playlist, and it's a bit of Kasabian representing Leicester. go. Representing Leicester, Kasabian in the Battle of Leicester against Liverpool. The Lightning Seeds on the way for the Merseysiders very, very shortly. But before that, we're going to have a bit of a party game in the studio.
Oh dear.
But first, let's have a quick chat, Rob, about an article you wrote recently about Kasper Schmeichel. We just spoke about Jamie Vardy at one end and everything he's done. But at the other end, Leicester have had a very, very prominent figure in their goal.
Oh, he's been fantastic this season, hasn't he? I mean, I can't think of many errors that he's made this season. He's so consistent. He's playing behind two great centre-halves that are helping him as well, but I'm sure that they would appreciate his instructions as well. But I decided to do an article looking at how he's developed, because obviously, his father, he gets really bored about being asked about his father, but that's always been, for me, more of a hindrance than a benefit for him as he's come through. He's had to, prove himself and live up to that name. And the way he's done it is by total and utter dedication. I mean, talking to Danny Iverson, I went up to Rotherham to speak to Danny, and he was telling me that one thing he's picked up from Kasper is that Kasper, when he's not training, is constantly watching YouTube footage of other goalkeepers to see if there's anything he can pick up, anything he can use, anything he can bring into his training session and try out in training. If it works for him, take it into to games and stuff like that. I mean, he's just and Brendan told us as well that he'd lost a lot of weight in the summer as well. He'd got a new fitness regime and diet as well, and that's benefiting him as well. And so he's just totally and utterly committed to his art of a goalkeeper. And they say that you've got to be a little bit crazy to be a goalkeeper, but you also got to be 100% committed to it as well. Because if you make one mistake, it's highlighted and it is constantly repeated. You can get away with it outfield player, but not in goal.
Yeah, you can find the full article with Rob, of course, from The Athletic, and check out Rob Tanner on Twitter to find all the links and everything you need for that. Right then, gents, it's time. Right. You, in front of you, have some cards.
Right.
Mm-hmm. We're playing that kind of guess the name game thing. Okay, you're going to hold it to your head. A minute on the clock each. Who would like to go first? It's all three of us are having a go. So
are we taking from the top or the bottom?
So take from the top. You can't look at it. Put it towards your head, and then we will
I'll go
describe.
first then.
Yeah, you ready?
I'll set the scene.
Set the scene
of this debacle.
And you ask us questions and we answer yes or no?
No, we ask. We give Gerry information.
Okay.
Ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Gerry Taggart, your time starts now.
Oh, he likes wildlife. He's on the telly.
In the jungle, yes.
David Attenborough.
Oh, your former manager who caught Matt Elliott drinking one Boxing Day, didn't
Mickey
he?
Adams.
There we go. Singer, X Factor from
Leicester
Leicester.
fan.
Like a skyscraper.
You mentioned her earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say Susan Boyle, but that's also not the one, is it?
Same initials.
No, yeah. Sam Bailey.
Yes.
That's where I got confused.
Oh, your mucker came in early and gave you a big
cuddle, yeah.
Skipper.
Legend of the club.
Match of the day.
Match of the day host.
Match of the day host. Gary Lineker.
He plays snooker from Leicester. Big Leicester fan. World champion.
Yeah. Willie Thorne.
No. Younger, still playing now.
Your time is up.
What do you call him? Jesus. Mark, that's it. Mark Selby.
There we go. Your time is up.
Should have got
good work, Tags. Very good. Rob, right, let's go for you.
Right.
Your 1 minute is on the clock and it starts now. Goal scorer, we've just been talking about
Jamie Vardy.
Yes.
Big centre half partner.
Scottish.
Matt Elliott.
Big Scotsman.
Scotsman, yeah, right.
Former
Manager when I was playing.
Martin O'Neill.
Yep. He was found in a car park in Leicester.
Richard III.
Goalkeeper.
Kasper Schmeichel.
All-time record holder.
Peter
England.
Shilton, Gordon Banks, yep.
She does a speech every Christmas Day.
It's the Queen.
It is the Queen.
Elvis Presley.
There you go.
Captain of England rugby when they won the World Cup.
Martin Johnson.
Yes.
He's lead singer of Kasabian.
Oh, Tommy in.
There we go. Oh, we're 6 seconds on the clock. He's through.
Yeah, but
all of them.
I was a lot
You were
quicker
on
and more precise.
fire. Absolute fire. Right. 1 round to go, gents. Here we go.
You two were like
3,
two bundling idiots.
Enough. Let's go.
Oh, he's the ambassador.
Club legend.
Oh, Birch.
Come on.
Oh, he's
lead
the
singer. No, he's the brains. He's the brains behind Kasabian.
The guitarist.
Yeah,
Serge,
Serge will do.
Pizzorno.
Oh, did he bring you anything this year?
Father Christmas.
It's
Santa Claus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, big centre forward, Leicester, number 9, went to Liverpool.
Emil Heskey.
Yeah.
Prime Minister.
Boris Johnson. I'm trying to think, who is it this week?
Wenger comes in here, does a few bits.
Loves his fishing.
Steve Guppy.
Yeah.
Oh, President of America.
There we go, Donald Trump. Oh, there's Mike.
He's a
He's
Irish
a beautiful,
fella.
beautiful looking big
Can't
fella.
cook though, apparently can't cook.
Can't cook. Gerry, Taggart.
Oh, and he said he plays
said him,
snooker
I
as
got it
well.
wrong.
The older one.
Yeah, he used to play snooker from
Bald.
Leicester, bald head.
Oh, you just said him.
Chalks his head.
Wasn't listening to you, was I?
Chalks his head.
Willie Thorne. Got through it. Eventually, the games we play and the fun we have on the Pre-Match Pint. That's what you're listening to on LCFC Radio, of course. Liverpool are in town. It's an 8 o'clock kickoff. We'll have Matchday Live from 7, where we'll have all the team news for the first time as well. This evening, of course, it is a big one. Bubba's been in touch saying we spelt Lineker wrong, and I think he did actually. So that's.
Are we on camera?
Yeah. There we go. So I think producer Sam is going to get his wages docked. There we go. So in terms of tonight, obviously not long until team news. Is there anything in particular you're thinking tactically? It could be just this little switch to deal with some of that threat from, especially that front three of Liverpool.
Well, this is the problem. Because a lot of the time, even though they go through phases of play at the training ground, I'm on about supplying the 2 full-backs and the midfielders, supplying the front 3. If you actually watch them play on a pitch, a lot of it is off the cuff, and sometimes you just cannot coach that. And that is what Liverpool front 3, a lot of other front lines don't have, is that little off the cuff when they play off the cuff. And they're always on the move. Especially, for me, Mane is just electric. He's world class at the minute. There's no doubt about that.
And his progression's been massive, hasn't it?
He's quite scary. I've watched him a few times, Champions League games. He is quite scary, to be honest. How you deal with that? Good luck.
Yeah.
Good luck, Ricardo. I have to say that. But the other two especially, they love these little flicks and tricks in and around the box while their backs to goal. And it's when that link up, those little flicks start to link up between the 3 of them. That's where the problems are. It's not the general play or the general setup of the game. It's everything that just comes naturally or organically to these front 3 that makes them a cut above all the rest.
Do you think Ndidi will be given a task to get amongst them as well? Because they'd like to drop off a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, they do. They like to come in, don't they? Well, Firmino likes to come in, doesn't he? Come off the centre halves, drop a little bit deeper. Salah does it a little bit wider, but Firmino normally is the one who's the point of the 3, likes to drop into that midfield area. So obviously the communication between Johnny, Soyuncu and Wilfred Ndidi is pivotal. Absolutely, absolutely. But again, it's when things just happen straight off the cuff, it's hard to cope.
Plenty more on the way in the build-up, and of course, as we approach the halfway stage of the season, we'll be asking the boys who's impressed them the most in the current campaign. And we've got all your latest news headlines after, as promised, the Lightning Seeds representing Liverpool.
Stars that shine down and call to the
Lightning Seeds and the Life of Riley on LCFC Radio. It's just gone 6:30. Let's get your latest news headlines.
You're listening to LCFC Radio.
A group of suspected migrants is being questioned by border officials after a major rescue operation in the English Channel. The Home Office confirmed 49 people, including a child, were brought ashore in Dover this morning. Bridget Chapman from Kent Refugee Action Network says travelling across from France in small boats is dangerous, especially in the winter.
We've worked with a number of people who've made this journey, and everybody says they were terrified, that they thought they were going to die. They were cold, they were wet, often they were hypothermic by the time they got here.
Police have identified a man who was shot dead in southwest London on Christmas Eve as Swedish national Flamur Bakiri. It happened in Battersea. No arrests have been made. Police looking for a missing firefighter in East Sussex are searching an area around an outdoor pool. Anthony Knott was last seen on a night out with colleagues in Lewes last Friday. That's the latest. I'm Anna Bates.
LCFC.com, Facebook and Twitter. You're listening to the Pre-Match Pint, brought to you by Chang Beer.
Yes, good evening. Welcome back to the show. It's the Pre-Match Pint on LCFC Radio as we get ready for Leicester City against Liverpool in the Premier League. 8 o'clock kickoff. We've got all of your coverage, including live match commentary from 8. But before then, still plenty to talk about on the Pre-Match Pint. Well, as much as anything, the fact that we're nearly at the halfway stage in the Premier League season. And I tell you what, if we had looked at the table at the start and said where we would be right now, talking about Leicester City, I think we all would have taken it. Liverpool, top of the league, played 17 at 49 points. Leicester City, second in the league, played 18, 39 points. It's been an incredible season so far, Rob.
Oh, that's absolutely fantastic. I mean, I liked the ambition of the club before because they were talking about top 6 was the target this season, and they were very ambitious about European qualification. But I think they've just exceeded all expectations so far to be in the position they're in. The football they've played as well, for me, it's been more entertaining than the 2015-16 season. You know, the title-winning campaign. They're playing some fantastic football. I love the brand of football that Brendan has brought to the side, and it's just been really. There's been so many joyous moments really so far. I mean, Southampton has to be right up there, the 9-0. I've never experienced anything like that before in my career, and there's been others that could have potentially been just as big wins as well. I mean, Villa winning at Villa Park. I mean, that's never an easy place to go and just dominate, and they certainly have. So it's been a fantastic campaign so far. I'm looking forward to the second half.
Funny, it started with that 0-0 draw against Wolves. A bit of a drab game, and actually Wolves unfortunate not to win because of VAR that day. But what's come after that, no fan would have ever imagined this season.
I think, obviously when Brendan came in at the back end of last season, and we seen the results that were then started to come in, there was a little bit of euphoria around it. Not euphoria, but the season was finished on a high, and yet it was all about taking that momentum and improving on it, and that's exactly what the club's done. And yes, you'd be forgiven for not thinking that after the first game against Wolves, but I go back to what Rob says about the ambition of this club. The owner's ambitious. Number one, the plans that he's got, the new training ground, that is critical in the modern game to attracting top drawer players. That's one of the things they'll expect is a top drawer training ground. That's what Leicester will have next year. And as you said, they talked about top 6. So they come out and publicly spoke about where they feel they should be finishing. Now you couple that with the manager they've brought in, with the training ground facilities that are about to be unveiled, the owner hungry for success, and you've got people like, you just talked about Kasper Schmeichel. That guy is hungry. That guy is a winner. You've got winners in that dressing room who've been there, seen and done it before. And surrounding them are all these hungry young players that want to prove themselves. James Maddison's just one. He's hungry for it. He just doesn't want to go out and play football. He wants to win. And that's why you're seeing the success that we're seeing. And yes, you'd be right in saying that we've taken everyone by surprise slightly. everyone was talking about the top 6 being a goal, an achievable goal. And yes, you'd be. But do you think we'll be second by come Christmas time? The answer would probably not. Top 6, yeah, maybe. But I firmly believe that Leicester will finish in the top 4, and that's a big statement to make with half the season still to go. But I see the desire and the hunger this team have, that the manager has, and that the owner has. And when you put all that together, that's a recipe for success.
We try not to look forward too much in terms of the rest of this season, but actually it's hard not to look forward past this season and go, look at the talent, look at the young talent coming through at Leicester City. We mentioned it last week with Kevin De Bruyne at Man City, and we were saying, well, everyone's kind of pitched this as De Bruyne and Maddison, who's going to come out on top. When De Bruyne was Maddison's age, he got shipped out from Chelsea because he was deemed not to be good enough.
It's incredible that, isn't it,
there's
really?
so much time for these players to develop into really, really... They're already exciting players, but it's going to get even better.
Well, Harvey Barnes is a classic example of that. I mean, people forget how long he's been playing first-team football for Leicester now. This is a big step up for him. And I've been pretty impressed with what he's done so far. A great goal at Sheffield United. Yeah, he will get that final pass, that final shot. He'll get that right in time. But he's just developing, he's just learning, he's learning about composure in those moments. We talked about Jamie Vardy earlier. He's composed when he's through on goal. Look at the goal, the finish at Man City. Harvey will learn that. He'll learn that over time. You don't get young kids coming and they're ready-made. You've got to allow them, give them the platform to improve and develop.
Yeah, absolutely. Who's been the standout then so far?
Well, we just talked. Jamie Vardy's got to be right up. But I suppose someone like myself, I expect it from Jimmy because he's been there for so long. He's been pivotal to this club for so long and still is and will be for the next 2-3 seasons, however long he decides to stay. I suppose the surprise package is obviously Shagler Shoinchute. You've got to say that. I think he's come right on the scene and he's a top-class defender in the making and shows little glimpses, what I see of, like, if you just temper him slightly, he'll improve with age anyway. Defenders always do. Ricardo has just carried on his work from last season again. Tielemans, indeed he's improving as a player. You can go through the whole team and give him, tick boxes, tick the box all the way down. So it's hard to just pick out one player. Well, Johnny Evans is playing like a leader.
There's one man you haven't mentioned, and how have you not mentioned him yet?
Well, because again, I expect it from Johnny. I've seen that much of him playing for Northern Ireland over the years that you're almost expecting. And then when he had a bit of a tough first season or first opening 3-6 months, whatever it is, to his career at Leicester, you're thinking, God, I'm thinking, come on, Johnny, you got to. And then, sure as eggs are eggs, he's now a proper leader on the pitch, and he's showing the class centre half that he is. Kasper again has shown a new lease of life, lost the weight, looks fitter than ever, penalty saves, so you've got all the ingredients, and it's all about staying on that path and not veering off, and not so Kasper not putting an extra 6 or 7 pounds on during the off season. It's all about everyone travelling down the same line, and that all comes from the manager, by the way, and the staff below him. So, it's good times, and rightly so, because I think when we played, we had the manager and Martin, but we didn't have the backing. But this club has shown now that it's got the off the field backing. It's got the facilities to attract top players, and I don't mean top English. I mean top world players. By the time this training ground's finished, that is going to be the best training ground in Britain by a margin, by all accounts. And obviously, you've got the manager who knows how to manage these players and get the best out of them. So that's a recipe for success in my eyes.
Well, the thing we keep hearing is the fact that this team has so much more to give, as what Brendan Rodgers has said. So how do they improve? Where would you be looking at improvements?
Well, I think individually the players will develop. The younger lads, they will get better as they get older, more experience. And I mentioned Harvey, but look at Wilfred Ndidi. He's been, he's 23, and he's been around for 2, 3, 4 years. Feels like he's been around a lot longer. And Ben Chilwell now, he's only been in the first team for a couple of seasons, the second season.
No, he's first choice England left back.
Yeah, exactly. So they're all developing, and that's what gives you the optimism that there's so much more to come from this team. If they have a season where they reach a cup final, let's hope, semi-final now against Villa in the League Cup. If they can get to a cup final, win a cup perhaps, and finish in that top 4, what a fantastic season that is. And then you build on that as well when you go on again. And that's how teams, great sides, are built.
In terms of a wider look then at the Premier League, would you say it's been Sheffield United who've been the surprise package?
They're up there, aren't they? You have to say. If you look at Sheffield United's squad, it's not adorned with Premier League experience. That's for sure. In fact, I could probably count on one finger the amount of players that have any Premier League experience, really, and that's McGoldrick. That springs to mind. But as far as the rest of them go,
well, they've got an identity. This is the thing. When we talked about Arsenal earlier, you wonder what they're about. What is their identity? Sheffield United have an identity. Leicester City have an identity, a way of playing, and they're familiar with it. They're comfortable with it. It works for them. They've got a manager who's got them very, very well organised as well. There's a lot to be said for that.
That's where a manager, good managers, come into their own, like a Chris Wilder. He's been around for a long time, Chris, in the lower leagues. Joined Sheffield United when they were in League One, and then got them promoted. Had to wait a couple of years, got them promoted again. But it's the way he goes about moulding his teams, and how he's moulded Sheffield United into this. We're going to play this style of football. We're not the greatest team in the world, but we play a certain way that other teams fail to get a grip of, and it's just great to watch. And he's a really, really. I just love his press conferences. I really do, because at last there's a manager that comes out and says what he actually means and not tells the press what he thinks they want to hear, and I think it's great.
Just coming up to 6:45 on LCFC Radio. Matchday Live just over 15 minutes away, and that is when we'll hear the team news ahead of Leicester City against Liverpool. But right now, our final 2 songs on the way from our playlist. It's been Leicester against Liverpool, and representing Leicester next, Corner Shop and Brimful of Asher.
There's dancing behind movie scenes, behind the movie scene. Sadi Rani, she's the one that keeps the dream alive. From the morning past the evening to the end of the light. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. And dancing behind movie scenes, behind those movie screens. Asher Bartley, she's the one that keeps the dream alive. From the morning past the evening to the end of the light. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Mine's on the 45. And singing, illuminate the main streets and the cinema aisles. We don't care about no government warning about that promotion of the civil life of the dams they're building. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Brimful of Asher on the 45. Well, it's a brimful of Asher on the 45. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody needs a bosom for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Everybody for a pillow. Everybody needs a bosom. Mine's on the 45.
Representing Leicester, Corner Shop and Brimful of Asher on LCFC Radio, and they're up against quite a tough opposition in the final song from Liverpool that we're going to play in a little while. But good one to keep us going anyway. Joe's been in touch. Good day from South Australia. It's 5 a.m. No alarm needed today. Win or lose, as long as we put up a fight, I'll be happy. So come on, you foxes. Good to have you with us, Joe. Wayne says, morning from Queensland. Good to have you with us, and a very good morning to you. Carol says, come on, Leicester, when you're smiling. And Ron says, 3 points on the board will be great. Of course, everyone getting ready for Leicester City against Liverpool. We've got every kick for you here on LCFC Radio, and on the way next is Matchday Live from 7 with Dan Bates and Matt Elliott talking you up through until kick-off. Good evening, gents.
Good evening. Good evening.
Was it Christmas dinner today?
It was chicken pie.
Chicken pie?
Chicken pie, yeah.
Yeah, I'll take that.
I'll take that.
Yeah, lovely job.
In about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Right then, atmosphere already building. Can hear it. It's going to be a special one. Leicester fans being asked to be in their seats early today, Dan. What's going on?
Yes, there is a light show before kick-off, so fans are encouraged to be here around about 1:45, so 15 minutes before kick-off for a big light show. I've already seen a little bit of a preview of it. It looks absolutely fantastic. I'm sure it'll get the atmosphere going. Just incidentally, talking about the media coverage for this game, the media room downstairs is the busiest I've ever seen it in my year and a half here at Leicester City. You can just tell this game is absolutely massive. Arguably, Matt, one of the biggest games of the season in general so far in the Premier League.
Yeah, it's right up there, isn't it? Without a doubt. You know, the top two speaks for itself, doesn't it? I think there'd be an even greater air of expectancy, or even more thriving interest in the game if Leicester had got the win or even a point against Man City. But at the same time, it's as we say there, it's top two in the Premier League, and people are going to be watching this game worldwide, literally, aren't they?
Matt, Leicester went toe-to-toe with Liverpool at Anfield and will feel very hard done by with not coming away with a point, but just shows that Leicester can compete with this side.
Yeah, I think of the three games that they've lost, Man United away, Liverpool away, Man City away, that was the game where they acquitted themselves best. Having said that, I still think they had a little bit more to give. I think they were sort of feeling their way a touch in the first half and struggled to contain Liverpool. Liverpool just similar to Man City, but in a different way. They sort of squeezed the life out of you. And Liverpool weren't at their best in the second half. Leicester sort of sensed an opportunity, didn't they, to get back into the game, which they did, of course, and let it slip somewhat unfortunately very late on. But I thought overall that performance was more fulfilling or more rewarding than the game against Man U, where they just came up a little bit short. So I was looking forward to see how much they would progress, if you like, against Man City, and it was almost a bit of a backward step in reality. So Johnny Evans spoke about a reaction from those two previous defeats. Be looking for one this evening against Liverpool, and maybe see them more aggressive-minded and take the game to Liverpool. It's always a danger, of course, but you'd like to think they could give more of an orthodox performance, really, against the top teams as well. Not tailor their game too much, too defensive-minded, where it detracts from the positive aspects of their game, the things that they are good at. Test them out against the big sides, and you might find you unsettle them.
So we're nearly in the final countdown to the biggest game of the season in the Premier League. Dan, what can we expect from Matchday Live, which will see us right up till kick-off?
Yeah, team news bang on 7 o'clock when you join us here for Matchday Live on LCFC Radio. We'll hear from Jamie Vardy, Brendan Rodgers, Jurgen Klopp, Jan Molby and Steve Walsh as well. So it's a very busy show. And Matt, of course, as ever, sat next to me for all the build-up and full match commentary.
There we go. Dan Bates, yes.
Every time he mentions my name, he gives me a big slap on the back, and I'm not expecting him. He's nearly knocking me over the chairs. I don't know. At least he's livening up a bit.
He's perked up. Dan Bates and Matt Elliott with us from 7 o'clock on Matchday Live ahead of today's game, of course, and that team news that we're also interested to see. But let's go back just down to the bare knuckles. How do we get a win for Leicester City today?
Well, you got to be clinical when you get your chances. You will get a couple of chances, I think, today, and it all depends who they fall to. If they fall to Jamie Vardy, I fancy a Vardy goal today. Get back on another little streak. You just got to be confident and go for it, and just believe today that you can beat this Liverpool side. They are a fantastic team, Liverpool. But if you believe and approach the game and get at it from the first minute, you might have some joy.
Well, that's it, isn't it? It's that early stage of this game, because everyone's saying, are Liverpool going to be tired? They've been to Qatar, they've just come back. Well, you're not going to know unless you really just go at them straight away.
Well, yeah, you've got to test them out on that, don't you? It's as simple as that. And it's not always the best ploy, I suppose, is just go out there. But I think tonight is probably the right time to say, right, straight from the off, we're up and at them. And we're in their faces. We're going to give it 15, 20 minutes at that. If it doesn't work, then we'll retreat slightly and see what happens then. But I think you've definitely got to ruffle their fellers. They've had a big couple of weeks, and especially the last few days. So they'll be cock-a-hoot, Liverpool, coming into this game. Let's bring them straight back down there for a bit of a reality check. How do you do that? In their faces.
How important is Johnny Evans tonight? I know you mentioned him quite a bit, but in terms of the communication and just making sure that all the players around him are just steady, especially with that attacking threat.
Well, I think he's probably the most important outfield player on the pitch, because he is the most focal outfield player that we have. So the communication, at the end of the day, he's the last line of defence, and then it's on to Kasper. So if you want to keep the ball as far away from your goal, then you have to communicate. You have to get the other players around you to try and, move position. Because again, if you watch Liverpool, there's no real set positions, is there? Especially with the front three. And so at times, you have to play out of position. And you have to be brave enough, if you're a full-back, to say, right, I'm going to come cross-field slightly, or infield slightly, even though it may not seem natural. But the Liverpool players are doing it when they're going forward. So you have to work around your set positions, and that's all down to communication and being brave. And that's where Johnny Evans plays a vital role.
And James Maddison, you feel that this could be a really interesting game for him. He always wants to kind of grab it by the scruff of the neck, and this is going to be an opportunity.
Absolutely. As I said earlier in the show, their midfield is unsung in my eyes, and I think that's going to be a massive area of the game today. Maddison, Tielemans, Ndidi, how they're going to cope with the three Liverpool lads in there. They've got to outwork them. They've got to work hard. There's got to be more energy about Leicester than there was at Man City, because we said earlier as well that they were a little bit lacklustre on that occasion. They can't afford to be today. They've got to match them at work rate, and then they've got to match them in terms of the quality on the ball. Because I think Maddison's got fantastic quality, Tielemans too, but you've got to match them with the work rate and the battle in that midfield area.
Right then, final thoughts from you both in terms of a score prediction, please, and your first goal scorer starting. Rob Tanner.
I fancy a draw. 1-1, Jamie Vardy to score first.
Gerry Taggart.
I'm going to go 2-2. I went 2-2 against Man City, but I think this will be a draw this evening, and I'm going to go Maddison.
Let's see what happens. We will be back for half-time and full-time analysis from the LCFC radio studios at King Power Stadium. But next, we're going inside the ground with Dan Bates and Matt Elliott They are bringing with you Matchday Live and the first look at tonight's team news. That's on the way. If you're watching on the social media feeds, they're about to be paused and then they will restart at the start of match